Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Dissenting Goyim Show, episode 3, brought to you by Dyed in the Wool History Productions. And let me tell you, this week and this weekend has been interesting. The Flying Dutchman has struck again. The same old company, the same old Jews, the same old game. We're playing it still after 450 years. And let me tell you something, the America First president has officially become America Last and part of that same company. Okay. The great game, as we call it, is back. It's going strong and it's moving the chessboard up to the next arena. Right. So our hope, the man we thought was going to save America, the man we thought was going to drain the swamp, well, turns out he's not. Now in the studio today, we got James the Elder coming back again. Welcome, James. And today, well, our hope is gone, sir. Our hope is gone. What do we do now? What's the move? We got ourselves a huge problem because the one person we thought, no, can't get rid of this guy. The one person we thought had the power to kind of reorganize the conservative movement has been murdered. Donald Trump is kind of a deranged, almost a tyrant now at this point. So where do we go from here?
Well, let's talk about Charlie Kirk murder first, and I'm going to be real direct on this. I have come to the point where I'm believing the lapel mic theory is nearly certain based on some recent evidence that I watched today that was actually shown in the Stu Peters show. I don't really watch the Stu Peters show because I haven't considered him to be a credible source, but data is data, and I think this is, like I say, pretty definitive. The lapel mic shot off just below his neck. There was no exit wound. The first thing you see when you watch some of the new film is the brain matter exiting the top of the skull, which doesn't indicate a fragmenting bullet. It indicates that's exit force. Probably two pieces of it went to the right of his chest. The pressure wave goes out from the lapel mic. And of course, this is, and the strange neck wound is most probably a battery exiting, hitting the vein and not the artery. That's why it doesn't pulsate and why the blood is dark. This would be why they were so intent on removing the rear camera, which would show they did. By the way, this video did have, there was a new video that showed part of the back, and there's no pressure there at all. This would show that.
Is that the video that Candace had, or is that new?
This was actually the person that was on the Stu Peters show. This was a video I hadn't seen before, and the exploding matter at the top of his head was either one I hadn't seen or I hadn't noticed. Now the really interesting thing about this is this sort of lapel explosive. It doesn't take a lot of force. Basically, it's blunt force, low trajectory, very similar to what was done with the pagers in the Middle East. Now, if there was one shard of glass
of Israel, right? If we got pagers that are blowing up, we got a lapel mic that's blowing up. That's got to be an Israel Mossad kind of move because that's what they did.
That other people can do it.
But who's most prone to do that? That's the question.
They're the ones that have done it. I don't even know anybody else that's done it. Now, if they get one shard of the glass off of this with ballistic residue on it, that's game over. That's solid scientific proof that this is what happened. And I've taken the case a little further. I see that as being why the essentially the whole crime scene was dug up to make sure none of that existed. The SUV was sold off 2 days later, but there were photos provided by some informant to Candace Owen that shows all this glass, and the glass was not from a broken cell phone. There's too much of it. This would have fallen out of the inside of his shirt, and part of it was actually from the lapel mic that was matched to one that someone bought off the internet. Appears to be the same make and model. So this is very very probable. And the communication that was going on beforehand was trying to coordinate the the rifle sounds to the much softer exploding microphone that actually killed him. He was killed by an explosion essentially on his body.
Right, but so we have that, right? We have this Tyler Robinson case that's currently happening right now, right? And it's clear, or at least plain as day to anybody with a mind, right? Anyone that can think for themselves, that he wasn't the guy. Because the one thing that that you can't figure out, right? If you have a bolt hole that small, right, no exit wound, that's essentially an explosion at the back, right? It cannot be the 308 30-06 or whatever that they say they use, right? So what do we do with that then, right? Where if that happens to be the case, will anything be done, right? Because obviously they're trying this guy, and I know they're trying to do it just as fast as they did with like Derek Chauvin, to kind of make this case go away without anybody asking questions. And I assume that's why he did not at least get buried yet, right? They got to figure out how to, fix him up, or I mean, he's got to be buried soon. Or did they just?
Well, it's quite possible. Even if you exhume the body, you would find this. Obviously, they want to wrap this case up as rapidly as possible, but the evidence just not only doesn't convict Tyler Robinson, it proves him innocent. They set up probably a group of patsies. This was fairly well organized, but I don't think they took a lot of the private individuals who would desperately like to actually know what happened seriously. They underestimated us. And this is a case that could turn the whole global political structure, especially the two American parties, upside down. This is probably the most important thing on the radar.
But again, would they release that? That's the question, right? Because we have Candace. She's done incredible work trying to figure this whole thing out, right? She's gone to great lengths to even like the further, more fringe ends of the investigation with the French. And would they show that though? Would they come out and say this was it? If anybody figured that out,
boy, it's going to be.
Right now we have Stu Peters on Rumble, and we got Candace who Papa Jew Ben Shapiro is doing all that he can to make sure she gets discredited, especially with that new show, which is quite bad. At least the clip that.
That's awful.
That's what I'm saying. Though we have this evidence, and yet I don't know how much it'll do, because I don't think it'll ever come out, and I don't think there's enough people to catch. I mean, there's us, right? But do we make up enough to be the majority in this case to have that evidence be credible and move forward to where the opinion of the population, right, the popular opinion, I should say, is that he was killed obviously by, it had to have been Mossad, it could be CIA, it could be
probably a combination of the
two.
Yeah,
we'll call it the global intelligence agency. Right, but then with that being said, would say like Donald Trump come out and say, maybe you killed our guy, or do you think he already knew and just isn't going to say anything?
Well, if he didn't know originally, I think he knows now, or he'd be incredibly ignorant if he didn't.
Right, you're right. It would be incredibly ignorant, but at the same time, right, I think that a lot of people should know, at least from Matt Walsh, right, is that Charlie Kirk was kind of the man that held this movement together, and he was picking up steam. He had the Gen Z, he had their children, right, and they were kind of coming together. And had he come out and said what he said, I know Turning Point uses these like ages old videos of him saying, "Oh, I love Israel," and I'm for the bombing, right? Then you have the other guys like Nick Fuentes who's saying Charlie Kirk was for that while trying to be against Charlie Kirk, which is funny. He was the guy that held the movement together.
This is pointing out that so many of the conservative commentators and influencers are really for sale, especially Alex Jones. He has come out and said, basically went on a personal attack against Candace Owen, almost like on cue when the Fort Huachuca information started to come forward. And he really showed that he's a deliverer of messages, whether they're he derives them or someone else provides them to him. He's not really about providing factual information. He's about messaging and directing an audience.
Right, and that was the most surprising is that Alex Jones came out and said what he said, and it was kind of like, are you even in your own brain currently right now? Right, it's everything's fake and gay, but I guess for him, he's his own gay frog. He just didn't know it was like you could kind of see like someone was directing him from the background, like, okay, start yelling now, say something that Candace didn't say in this personal fight, and it was like Alex Jones was gone. The guy
Yeah,
that
he
got
was.
the
Yeah.
guy that got into the Bohemian Grove, the guy that has gone, full, essentially face first into the financiers to study on him. It's like he then became some kind of, I don't want to say robot because some people are saying I'm a conspiracy theorist, but some kind of robot for them.
It's going to be very interesting to look at his viewership numbers to see how this impacts it. I've got to think it's going to be a massive impact. We'll see.
Right. I think so too. But at the same time, again, we come back to the conservative movement, which was our hope for America, at least, because I know Charlie and Tucker talk about having more loyal elite to us. But when you look at the arguments for the elite theory, a lot of people say that there's never a need for this or it doesn't pick up enough steam. Now, Charlie was picking enough steam for that. But at the same time, he's dead, right? Alex Jones, which people thought he was crazy, right? Most of the time he was on point. Sometimes he got a lot of things wrong. But he's out of the picture, right? Then you have almost like an orchestrated through Ben Shapiro that, let's throw the wrench in things and see how much we can mess up to ruin this movement and then reorganize it after this, like to push everybody away and see who they could pull in as we have this adventurism into all over the globe.
Yeah, you destroy it, and the person really that was critical to it, and then remake it. That's always the problem about dying. People can use you for their own purposes afterwards, and you can't defend yourself.
Right. Well,
Oh,
as you said, when he died, it's a war over his legacy at this point, and then you're
yeah,
absolutely you called that one 100%, right?
yeah.
Continue on. I'm sorry.
I was also going to say Alex Jones was guilty of messaging on Venezuela over the last 2 or 3 weeks, where he spun some arguments that were directed specifically at what would be considered a paleo-conservative audience. It would never make it on mainstream media. They were directed specifically for the likely defectors in the mega movement who, again, would be of the paleo-conservative or libertarian bent.
Yeah, but when they defect, like me, right,
Yeah.
or possibly you, essentially the whole movement, well, the movement's gone. Maybe that's what they want, right? Maybe that's the whole Goldwater effect, right? If Nelson, that Ben Shapiro is our Nelson Rockefeller, right?
And maybe it is. I don't think it is, not at this point anyway.
Right. And I'm not saying like he's the guy. I'm saying that he's at least the face of the guys.
He's the face of the guys.
Right.
And I think a lot of people here and in other countries underestimate our level of intelligence. Most people are sleepwalking. There is an intelligent intellectual base that still exists. And one of the things that really aggravates me about Alex Jones and several other conservative podcasters and Trump a lot of the times, real tough guys don't have to beat their chest like they're trying to prove they're tough. If you really are, you don't have to act it all the time. And intellect, I think, is probably certainly should be a lot more impressive than just calling people names and again thumping your chest.
Yeah,
anybody can do that behind a camera.
It's crazy. He does that, and with the IQ he has, he thinks he's outsmarting everybody. Right?
It's bad.
Well, it is terrible. It's like when the smart guy is actually dumb.
Yeah.
And I was talking to people about that today. I said, you can be smart, but it's how you use that smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not using it very good. He's just like the descendants of the global rule, the sea people, so to speak. Originally, the sea people operated in shadows, did nothing, right? Did the old "don't let the right hand see what the left hand's trying to do." But yet now it seems like they think that everybody's so dumb they don't have to do that anymore. And so that's why, like, we got Trump coming out here, and he essentially is like, well, I can do what I want. You guys will support me no matter what, and if you don't, well, whatever. Right? We got more forces working against you than with you.
They really think we're stupid. They and the only thing that will stop the trajectory that we're on isn't a savior, so to speak, a political savior. It's a whole lot of ordinary people, a critical mass of ordinary people who think, reason, and communicate.
Right. No, I just hope though that it can. There's people to rally around that will bring at least a real intellectual conservative movement. Right.
Well, that's what our hope has to be. But I also have faith in science. That's the area I come from. If you have hard physical evidence, and again, all we need is one shard of glass with ballistic residue on it. There's no opinion, there's no discussion at that point. That's game over.
Right. No, I know there was speculation. No, Candace said they had sold the car.
They sold it the next day.
But
That's fact. That's fact.
it's a fact. Okay. Did they? I mean, it seems weird that they didn't take it to say the junkyard and squish it right away.
That does seem
Sold
a
it.
little strange. I think maybe they thought that selling is the quicker way, get everything out of it, and then sell it.
Hmm.
Is it recoverable now? I don't know. Did they really get all the glass out? I don't know. But they have to be worried at this point. Like I say, one shard of glass with ballistic residue, that's it.
Right, because it's all you need really. But it's again, it's I would be hard pressed to say if there is a court willing to try this one or investigate it. I hope so. I hope that we have some people who can at least sit down and say, you know what, I'm going to hear this case and see that the evidence, because that's kind of what we were supposed to be founded on, outside of John Marshall, who destroyed all this idea of justice. Um, the idea of like, hey, let's put forth the evidence and let that be the call. So I hope this movement is gonna kind of reorganize and not turn into the old right, where it kind of not fizzled but just got beat through these same tactics. This has been played before, right?
It has been played before, and the quicker they can make things go away and get memory hold, the better. The longer they don't, the worse it is for them.
Right, which is
And
good.
this could be world shattering.
It could be right, which is good that there are media outlets like this, right, where you can keep the conversation moving and not let it die, right, not let it turn into the say the Vegas shooter where it died in two days, 3 days tops, and then all evidence, everything outside of that was gone.
It's just about that sloppy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So hopefully, I mean, we could pick up steam and get that moving. I know, like I say, kudos to Candace who keeps at it right now, and she's taking the most of the retaliation, right? Definitely most of the
Oh,
retaliation.
absolutely. But she's also the most motivated. Now, the thing with the Las Vegas shooter, though, who died there? Ordinary people who didn't make it back to work on Monday.
Yeah,
Who cares? This is different.
yeah, yeah. That's true. This again, but I think it adds up to this picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, that's more the biggest mass shooting in American history. It turns out to be one of the smallest events currently, comparably speaking, right? Because we got the entire world reorganizing at this point.
Yeah. Chaos on top of chaos. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the chaos theory, right? And it is sad that innocent people do have to die because they want something out of that. You know what I mean? All right, now let's move on. Last week we talked about Iran, and this is a good point because last week, we have this today that we're talking about. Over the weekend, we saw one of the biggest violations, and I don't want to say international law because I don't think a lot of people understand what international law was or what it was created for. Right? We think it was this kind of global justice system that would be enforced at all costs, but it wasn't. Right? It was built for the men that right now that are leading Donald Trump and paying for his deal. And I know it's not just Donald Trump by no means. It's not just him. We just have the biggest stick to shake in people's face. It so we talked about Venezuela. Oh, we haven't talked about Venezuela yet. I'm sorry. We talked about Iran, right? So we'll pull this up here. And last week we speculated that there was something more to the picture, right? That things don't happen in a vacuum. They are bigger and they affect more things in the world, much like the 7-Year War, the Carnatic Wars, the War of Austrian Secession, and the French and Indian War. Those are kind of the biggest example we can think of that then had the American Revolution. Just they don't count it with it, but I would consider it part of that event, right? So we see the Iran, we see the Venezuela. Now we're looking at the notice put on Colombia and Greenland and all that stupid stuff. That's wildly unconstitutional. Not that matters anymore. So where are we at now with Iran? Where has it progressed?
Yeah, Iran's the important one. Well, they're all important, but there are basically two groups in Iran that are dissident groups. They have different strengths in different areas. They've been Western supported. Like we talked about before, there is no such thing as a spontaneous demonstration or an unfunded demonstration.
Yeah, that's an axiom. Never a popular movement, never grassroots, never natural. It is always funded by somebody who wants something out of it, who's a financer.
And as long as they keep putting more money into it, it'll just get worse. The one lesson I say through history, and people could criticize me on what I'm going to say here, is that when a government has a violent protest movement that attempts to bring it down, and the examples on this go back a long way, they have to suppress it. They have to put it down. Because as long as it's working, the people that see it working, again, they're going to put more resources in it. The Maidan coup is one of the more recent ones. Iran and Russia, I think, will have to be more aggressive in this, although they don't tend to go into foreign countries like we do.
But they are good.
The Iranian leadership has to put this down. That's not saying Islamist rule. Whoever rules the country, these two groups have to be suppressed, or it's just going to get bigger and bigger.
Right. Now, I often wonder, when you have Western funded movements, right, and you have leaders of those movements, do they really think they're going to get something out of it, or they're just going to be the next, like what we see in Venezuela again, where it's like, hey, you're on notice and we're about to put a blockade or put everything until you do what we say. Like, do those people really think they're going to have full sovereignty and they're going to be free thinkers, or is it going to be, I know a lot of people don't really understand what happened in America, but because we had merchants that were good at what they did and managed to take over the game, right? That's how America was able to break this cycle. Outside of that, our founding fathers would have just been another puppet, so to speak, to this merchant class had we not had those merchants. Right. So are these people thinking they're going to get something out of it, or do you think it's just,
probably
probably
to a degree, whether they're that's a rational hope or not, I'm not so sure. And I'm not even speaking about this in a moral or philosophical light. Just the lessons of history are, when you have these rebellions, the sitting government has to do whatever they have to do to put it down, or they'll fall. And I would really be surprised in Russia in this case. Again, it's not natural for them to do this, but I see them becoming more and more aggressive in terms of drawing a line with the Western powers. Just an example of that, the attacks carried out on the Ukraine last night and the night before hit U.S.-owned businesses, which were previously left alone because they were U.S.-owned. This line of avoiding conflict is going to start shifting as rapidly as our position on these foreign areas have in the last couple of months.
Right. Okay. So now let's break through Venezuela, because we have Iran, and we'll keep watching that. I know the protests are still the protests, and I don't think they've gotten to a big enough level to where we can call them revolution yet. Right. But that's just what I've been able to track so far.
As long as you keep feeding it with money, though, it'll keep going.
What it is, right? So now we have the bigger problem, and for me, this was the more interesting one because it is connected to the Iran, and we have to acknowledge that. That's come out multiple times. But we have Venezuela. Again, it's kind of a bad picture, but whatever. You have Venezuela now. What Donald Trump did was interesting, and I think a lot of it has to do with he got away with it because people learn bad history, and they learn bad history throughout their time at school. And so this was the case, right? You have the Donroe Doctrine. Now, the Donroe Doctrine is completely make-believe and unconstitutional, but it was based off the idea of Monroe's Doctrine, which, by the way, we should acknowledge that was written by John Quincy Adams. And so when Monroe gave this speech to Congress, right, everybody, and we heard it today with Stu Peters' guest, right? He said, well, this is to tell the eastern half of the globe to get out of here. And if you try to encroach upon any part of the North and South American continent, then we have the right to seize that country and then defend it. Well, that's not what he said.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That's not at all what he said, right? No. He told them to please stay away from us. Get the hell out of here. We have beat you more than once. We've beat you in the Revolutionary War. We got you at the War of 1812. And because he was good friends with Thomas Perkins, he knew his place. He knew he had power. When he said something, he knew it, right? That was essentially saying, we own the game. We don't need you guys, and we don't want you around us, right? Because we know that you are the disease that you are. And so Monroe said, let's have a civilization, a republic in good faith, right? If you come into those countries, we will be there to defend them, right? That is our friendship, our duty to this half of the globe. And that was the Monroe Doctrine. And we should note that John Quincy Adams hated this group of people. And he called them out from his diary when he was a kid. He looked at he was in a conversation in France. It's either France or England. I hope it's, you know, I'm going to say England. Either way, he had this conversation, and that guy he had the conversation, which he noted. He said, what has happened in Poland has happened because of the Jews, right? And so...
And you're talking about the collapse of Poland, which is that's a very interesting story that almost nobody knows.
Right, but that's what, okay, that'll be a topic for some time. But the point is that he took that, knew where they went, right? Knew the idea. You had the 1650s, Jacob Frank and Sabbatai Zevi, the self-proclaimed messiahs. And he knew who he was dealing with, the Dutch East India Company, the financiers, the Amsterdam Jewish financiers, I should say. And we got to be clear about that. That's what they called themselves. And he waged war on even the Freemasons. He waged war on them. So when he wrote this speech, he was serious about it. Right. And so we have the Donroe Doctrine, which changes that. The Donroe Doctrine says, well, he didn't say we'll defend him. He said, we'll seize them. That gives us power to seize, so that I guess the eastern half of the globe is to stay away. But the truth is, the eastern half of the globe John Quincy Adams was writing to stay away from us are the same people Trump's putting in his pocket. Right. Trump's putting money in his pocket. So, you know, that's that difference that people don't get with the Monroe Doctrine versus the Donroe Doctrine. So what he did in Venezuela was a new aspect of, I don't want to say westward movement, but we're going to say southward movement, you know, southward expansion. But he got away with one there, and people bought into it because he made up a cartel. And so you have that. It's interesting because I've been talking about this all week, is that you have that Donroe Doctrine, which is making history right now.
It's not only making history, but it's redefining real history.
Yeah, it's
people's
redefining
minds.
it, but it's
Yeah.
pointing out that people are stupid in history, that they
No,
learned
it is.
bad
It is.
history
It
from the
is.
beginning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what he took advantage of, which is the sad thing. It's a sad thing. And on top of that, his movement. So he went into Venezuela, right? And he canceled sovereignty. So international law exists only for those in the game, and sovereignty is just something uh, more of an ideological foundation, right?
Right.
And I know people. We'll talk. Reconstruction was the same way. They took sovereignty away from the states. But this is the grand scale. It's now we've taken Reconstruction and we've moved it to a global scale. Just
Yeah.
like
I'll add a couple of interesting things about Maduro too. Maduro is a Sephardic Jew. He's an anti-Zionist, the one of I think 9 countries in the world. Oh, I was less than that now, but I think it might be 5 now that did not have a public central bank, or excuse me, that had a public central bank. Private central bank is really just a acronym for Rothschild controlled. So he was a Jew who broke with Zionism.
right on the grand scale, because if you don't have a central bank that's run by the Rothschild, you broke, right?
Oh yeah,
That's
there are two things that will get a state leader disposed of in one way or another. One is to break with the dollar hegemony or the dollar system, and the other is to try to maintain a public central bank.
right. And so for that, we should congratulate them, right, for staying this long without it. But you know, again to break with that, but it's like, man, that just shows that who's safe anymore, right? The one,
Yeah, there's all things like this always look best the day after you do them. Now, the interesting thing going forward is there going to be an insurgency? Is there going to be a flow of refugees? Is there going to be a continual cash drain from the United States? And then in the background, what's this going to do to the way other countries see this country? Will they buy the debt? Will they support the dollar? Or is everyone getting the idea now that being an enemy of the United States is dangerous, but being a friend is perhaps more dangerous?
right? And I think though you're having this split now. I mean, Western nobody wants to be a part of Western Europe. It's dead. You know,
It's dead.
it's it's dry bones, so to speak,
Yeah.
right? That are unable to rise unless we have something good going for us. And the one country that everybody runs to, which we should have told the socialist revolutionaries a long time ago to go somewhere else, right? Um,
Mhm.
and we should, anyway, you have the Eastern split, right, where you have Russia and you have Iran and you have China there. Um, yeah, you just have this another schism, almost a global schism, right? That's like kind of being solidified here is that nobody wants to be a part of this group. And America has shown that they are dying, almost dead, become Rome, right?
If someone understands the history of Poland, and then it's a longer topic we can talk about some other time, and overlays it on what's the United States history, the parallels are remarkable. And when I say Poland, I'm not talking about the modern nation after World War One. I'm talking about the one that died around 1800.
Yeah, right. The one that was, and everybody knows the group. I feel like you have to know the group that's doing this, right? You can't just be like, oh no, this is old. I know we said Donald Trump's name a lot, but we have to give credit to where credit is due, and we got to talk about those people that are doing it, and they've been doing it forever. Again, the great game, 450 years old, the Dutch East India Company. It took over the world. It took over the English East India Company. It tried to keep America from being successful, which is why you have the critical period that was going so poorly. And then you have the war between the states, which was a Rothschild game at that point. But it's like you got to know do people, you think people know, or they have to be inclined, or they're just too afraid to say it? And I know
You have a small number of people that know. You have others that suspect, but they're too afraid of being considered extreme, breaking friendships, so blah blah blah, to actually let themselves think about it very much.
right, they're too afraid to be called like anti-Semite. But we have to understand that this group called themselves that. They called themselves the Jewish merchants, right? They called themselves, well, I call them the mixed multitude merchant connection, which is the Judeo-Puritan with the Huguenots involved, and Huguenots are the foot guys, the foot soldiers, and the Puritans are kind of the middleman, and then you have the Amsterdam Jewish merchants. Um, it's like we're afraid of saying what they are that they called themselves.
Yeah, we are. We've been conditioned to be that. Like I think I mentioned before, the dog whistle on the left wing is racist, and the dog whistle on the right wing is anti-Semite. So we have this misplaced collective guilt, and the more you understand about Jewish history, the more you know that how misplaced it really is.
Yeah,
They allow people to look at a nation and a group of people and see it as something that it's not. And honestly, the Puritans did that, and eventually people saw through it, which is when the Stuart monarchy came back. Interestingly, Cromwell, they hated this guy so much for what he did at that point. They had kind of a millennial fever that burned itself out. They dug the guy, the mobs dug the guy's body up because he was already dead, and hung the corpse.
good old Cromwell. Yeah. But okay, so moving forward, right? We'll move forward. We're kind of in it with this. Is that you have the aspect of, do you, if you would just speculate, and we talk, if you would, let me start over. If you were to speculate, you have the Iran protest. Are we right? Oil's kind of a blanket statement. Oh, it's for the oil, right? I think people are just kind of just saying things. Would you speculate that the acquisition of oil from Venezuela, which by the way is really hard to refine, which I don't know.
You're absolutely right. Great point.
Yeah, I don't know why they thought they were just going to get it and drill, and then it's like you got to retool. I had a friend who lived in uh, what was it, in Louisiana, and he was by one of the only refineries that were tooled for that. So it's like you have to redo refineries, and when people like Newsom are shutting them down, it's like, what are you gonna do? You're not just gonna sit there and pull those oil,
Well,
pull the oil, and then try to like turn around as quickly. But if you were to speculate, um, are we looking at the beginning, or the actually a middle stage? I'm gonna say a middle stage of Agenda 2030, where they are trying to start that grand war and play out this eschatology.
well, some people might be. Um, it's hard to know how people in decision-making positions actually make decisions. I think Trump is surrounded by people that aren't necessarily acting in his or our best interest, but he goes along with it. So the point you make on the heavy oil is very important. You have to be set up to process that. This will probably require a massive infrastructure investment, and let's say something like BlackRock, which again will come right out of the American people. There are other elements or resources there that are significant. Trying to get the Chinese out of the area, that's probably strategically significant. I think that the long-term difficulty of this has not been readily assessed, even on the best case. And again, the worst case is it turns into prolonged insurgency. So, do you have a sort of nihilistic group of people trying to advance the millennium or the end of history through something like this? Certainly, there are plenty of people that want to follow that line. Everything is though sign of the times, the end of the times, the rapture's coming, and we see people on Facebook who you and I know that absolutely everything is that. They're delusional. Tomorrow comes, they're still here, but they're never held accountable for being wrong in the past. It's a factor. It's probably more a factor at a follower level than it is at a leader level. But there are people high in the government that, like a Pompeo or something, that do subscribe to that. Cruz, I guess he's sincere. I don't really know.
That describes the eschatology. He plays it out like he is.
He certainly plays it out like it is.
So much so that he campaigned against someone. He's trying to campaign against someone that's not running, right? But he seems like a true believer, right? A true neoconservative, from Texas. That Protestant person right there.
People in churches need to wake up and understand their own history. Christianity, especially in America, is being rapidly turned into something that's antithetic to everything it originally was.
Yeah, and that's the recreation of America after 1865. We're saying that Lee was right. Had he seen what was going to happen, he would have died with a sword in his hand.
Yeah.
All right, we will keep watch on this. We keep watching Venezuela. We will have more for you next week. Again, we're going to come back to the oil on Venezuela. We're going to keep watch on this Donroe doctrine because we got Greenland, who now has a shoot first, ask later policy, which is interesting in itself. And then we have Colombia and even Canada on notice. So we will keep watch on that. Thank you for being here today, James the Elder. We can't wait to hear what you got to say next week.
All right, enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for tuning in to the Dissenting Goyim Show, this half of it. Now, if you stay tuned, we will, for a matter of fact, have the great Charles E. Smith to lead us into sports.
Justin, if I could say one thing before I go, Charles, one of the biggest things I missed about Southern California is you and I standing around in the front yard solving all the world's problems or determining they couldn't be solved.
Yeah, I like it. You know, how much headway did we make there? You know, I think we got a few things right, and
I think we did.
Yeah, listen to you guys. I love the history, and I don't know if you did it because I came in late, but I'd like to see the comparison maybe because they try to make like history never existed when anything happens. So with what happened with Maduro, if we go back and compare that with like bin Laden and then go back to Noriega, we make a comparison along those three things there, possibly, and just because everything is presented as though this has never happened before.
Never happened before, yeah.
And guys have been removed, but what was the reason? What was the outcome, and all those type of things, so that the younger generation can understand that they're not living in unprecedented times all the time. It's like, there is nothing really new under the sun.
It's really nothing new. It just recycles itself with different players and different scope.
And as you said during the broadcast, I heard you said it'll continue as long as the money is flowing. And that's what it comes down to, baby. It's all about the Benjamins.
Yep.
All about the Benjamins. That's true, right? And I feel
I'll let you go and enjoy your part of the show. Good talking with you, Charles.
All right, you bet.
Oh man, Charles, you are right. Those comparisons. There's the Venezuelans left a paper trail like you have never seen. You have Hugo Chavez said, "We know who did it." You have Maduro said, "We know who's gonna do it." And then we have the new lady whose name escapes me, but she just recently said that this was the Zionist, So they let the paper trail.
Also, I think you should look at not just the reaction here, because of course they divide us 50-50, so nothing ever gets done. But what is the reaction of the people from that country? Is the outrage there or not? And that's why I say the whole thing with Noriega, the whole thing with bin Laden, and then right now, is the country an outrage or not, or is it just us here saying this is just such a violation of whatever?
Well, I think that last point, and then we'll move on to sports. Lord, we got some doozies for real. Anyway, I think that we see like a make-believe mob of Venezuelans celebrating, right? But if you really see what's going on in their country, they're pissed. They are not happy that that
Okay.
took place because their sovereignty was destroyed, right? Hegemony reorganized, sovereignty gone. Now it's just a philosophical word. So anyway, we'll keep watching that though, definitely. Your 2 cents on that subject, phenomenal. Okay, so
So let's get
welcome.
into that most magnificent distraction and escapism that there is in the world, and that is
The
sports.
gladiators.
Notice
No?
I redid my studio a little bit. So you see up there, we got Bigfoot watching in the corner. That's courtesy of my homeboy, Tim Lopez. And then over in my right shoulder, we got one of the dopest hat collections in the world put together by yours truly. I'll be changing up the hats every week so you can see a little bit more, but there you go. We got
Well, I
Bigfoot.
like it, and you know
got
why I
the
like
hat.
it?
We got the hats.
You know why I like it? The top of your head's not missing.
Right. And of
Right.
course, opportunity. And that's what
So
we're talking
now I
about,
can-
people. Opportunity for
right?
unity.
That's what sports are. Sports are opportunity.
Right. And in
Everybody
unity and
should try.
opportunity, it begins with communication, not just throwing out slogans and rhetoric and cliches and things, but actually communicate with each other as human beings. If someone disagrees with you, actually find out why. Get into it. Not just slap a label on them, call them stupid or whatever, and then walk away like you're right about everything because you ain't.
Yeah.
Figure out why they think that. Okay, maybe they saw the same things you do and came to a different conclusion based on their life experience. You never know.
But hey, TikTok told them what to say, right?
Exactly.
If TikTok says say 6'7", guess what? They're gonna say 6'7", right?
Something you never knew about, but then all of a sudden you watch 4 minutes of anything and you have a hill you'll die on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But that's what makes you smart. Seeing a 2-minute video, you become smarter than Einstein.
Oh yeah.
You're better than Nietzsche. You're better than Jung. You got it, brother. You got it. All right, so here we go.
Here's the spontaneous knowledge, people.
Inside sports. Inside sports. You know, I tell you what, it'd be nice to bring that back. Maybe we could.
I'm old now, man. I'm old.
I don't know. Let's see. Anyway, right. So I tell you what, these games that we talked about last week, right? And there wasn't, I know we didn't have a lot to say, but now we have a lot to say, right?
Yep.
But I'm going to tell you what, them Panthers and that Bucks game was interesting, but I got a rant about this, and I told you this on the text. I'm going to rant about this. The Panthers playbook, their strategy was, one, their linemen get a block, right? So Bryce Young can work, or two, what's his name? Was it McMillan? You know,
Right.
gets open quick enough so we could have that quick pass. Why? The weakest part of this game right now is in fact linemen. Their footwork is sloppy. They don't get any footwork going, right? They get themselves turned and try to chase the guy. And it's like then they resort to holding. But man, the Panthers line was exceptionally bad. They were letting them guys get through almost every play, and it was like Bryce Young had to really work for that quick pass, especially in rain. It was like the quick pass, if it didn't get off, he was going to get sacked, right? Or you had the run game, which wasn't doing very well.
Well, I'll say this too, and to your point, there's a reason why, although the Panthers are hosting a home game against the Rams this week, the first game of the weekend on Saturday, in the wild card round, the Rams are a 10.5-point favorite. And I think, you know, that's just to get the money spread around equally. I think that could be just a real curb stomp by the Rams. I think they may win that game by 20 points, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. Well, I think so too, but the Rams have been known to blow games.
They have, and they didn't finish
one
them
thing
That's
that
true.
I hope to God that the Rams don't come in and do that.
Well, we'll see. It looks like everything looks good for the Rams. That was just a weird division, that whole NFC South. The way that Tampa Bay was, they started out, they started out bad, got hot. The others started out, hot and got cold. I got those two switched. But anyways, yeah, I know it's strange. In that game, I think that game was the perfect game to end the NFC South because that game was a microcosm of what that division was all year. Just messy, sloppy, hard to watch, hard to define. And I think growing in the background, though, we have coming out of the shadows. Watch for the New Orleans Saints next year. I think they kind of got with Suge, their quarterback. They've got kind of a diamond in the rough there, and I think they may come out of nowhere and just make a little bit of noise in that division at least.
I think, I had on my fantasy team, I had the Saints defense, right? And it paid off for the couple games that I had them. So I would look to that as a strong foundational point for them. So you're right. I think that the Saints will come back. And I think as long as they kind of hammer out their quarterback situation and figure out kind of what their offensive scheme is, because right now they were all over the place. They had some running backs that showed up. You got who's that quarterback? Tyson Hill, right? Is that him?
Taysom, yeah.
Tyson Hill, right? He when he has the opportunity does well. So I think if they build off of their defense for sure, right? Then if they kind of utilize a system that works for him.
Well, Taysom Hill, to me, he proved he's not an everyday starter. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's
he can come in and make a little bit of noise, but just like we had, remember Cordell Stewart, guys like that who were kind of come in and make a little bit of noise, then go back out type of a thing. But you're not going to start Taysom Hill for 17 games and have any great success.
Yeah, but we knew that already, right? So when he took the reins on this, it's like they had to figure out if they were going to stick with their old system or develop something new, and they obviously stuck with their old system because that's why we're seeing a not 17 game starter. So are they going to change it? Where are we going with this?
Shook is going to be their starter next year, and I think that's the future for them going forward. And I think with him at the helm there as a signal caller, give him another season or two to really get settled in, and I think they got something.
What are they doing with Hill?
Keep him around. It all depends on the salary cap. We'll see what they do with him, but he's not going to be the starter. I really don't see him as a starter. Reliable backup, though, because he's one of those who's like in basketball, you have the guy who's an instant offense off the bench, the six-man type. He can still do that. He's just not a starter. Maybe situational, where you really need that dual threat type of a guy. Keep him around for that. And do the slash thing like I did in Pittsburgh some years ago.
Yeah.
And if you wonder why I'm looking down, I'm kind of watching the Miami Hurricanes here trying to get to the national championship game as they got a 4-point lead in the third quarter over Ole Miss. But I like this game because it shows that Notre Dame is just a bunch of whiny little blue buds who didn't think that Miami should be there, thought they should have got the nod instead. And the further that Miami goes, it just shows how wrong they were. And I just love it.
Yeah, the U, what scared me with the U is that they didn't come out swinging, right? You had the Ole Miss run right up the middle, right to the end zone. And from there, I was, I had texted my brother-in-law and I said, man, I love the intensity that Ole Miss is showing right now. I'm not even an Ole Miss fan, right? But it was good, right? It was right out the gate. They were scoring, but the U is hanging in there. That's for sure. I think the Ole Miss is awkward because you have the whole Lane Kiffin debacle, right? Who gets to the playoffs here and then goes, I'm going to go to LSU, right?
Well,
and then you have the what's worrisome with the quarterback is the what Chanlis, is that his name?
Right.
Entering the portal, right? And so Ole Miss
portal gives me headaches, man.
Yeah, well, you got 4,000 players entering the D1 portal, right?
Well, where's the accountability with anything? One, they talk about they want to get around the employee thing because if they're employees, and that means benefits and all that kind of things and workers' comp and all that stuff. So maybe if they were contracted, could they fall under like contracted workers or something? And also, I think that much like I'm an independent contractor myself, but I can't just take all the money and then say, oh, you know what, I'm going to go over here and work for some other company. So maybe that money needs to get parceled out. It's like, okay, we're going to pay you $5 million to play for our school, but you're not getting it up front. Every game, every so often, you're going to get this money, and that's that. You can't just take the bag and then say, hey, I'm headed to another school. It's unregulated space. This is just It's the Wild West.
It really is.
terrible.
I've heard so many arguments. I know a lot of the coaches that I coach with, they, you have some that are like me that don't, I'm old school, right? If you're playing college ball, you're in college. You're playing ball, you signed up for that. If you can't support whatever, that's because you're playing college ball. You are working to the big leagues. You are trying to get the big money. And then even at that, work up to that, and hopefully, you at least show that you're something to get to the Super Bowl before you start to get that money, right? Another coach that I coach with, he was like, "Well, it's so that they don't have that I get big money and then kind of fall off the wagon, right? You see that with, like, I'm going to go to Jordan Love because Jordan Love's the guy I know the most who gets that big contract, right? And then just falls off the wagon. I personally, man, I don't think they should get paid, because then you have this debacle, right? You have this, oh, I played well here, and now I think that I have enough street cred to go to, or a resume, a CV, right, to go to this team. Now with Chandless for Ole Miss, I strongly believe that there might possibly be a movement to LSU.
I've heard that, and well, I'd say this, and here's the big problem with what you say now, because way back when, we'll say in the 60s, 70s, or whatever, before the NCAA became, all right, what were they offering these blue chip athletes? A college education for free, a full ride. And that was when the NCAA wasn't even bringing in 1/100th of what they bring in now. So the NCAA has built this empire off of college sports, and they're making this money on the backs of the players who are coming in. So why should this institution, which is offering the same thing they did 50 years ago, but now they're making 50 times as much money, but some of that shouldn't go to the players at all? That's, I'm just saying, man, maybe they need a cap, and they say, okay, you can be paid by a school, but maybe no college football player anywhere can make more than $1 million a year. So once you're at that, that's it, whether you play here, there, or anywhere, because now you have some of these private investors, guys, and I think it was the coach for, was it Arizona State, who was publicly looking for an angel to pump money into their program so that they can pay players to come to their school.
Yeah.
It was a shameless, almost a GoFundMe.
Yeah, modern day at over by y'all, right? They had a donor that brought all those players there so that they could go from modern day to D1. And guess what? This past year he got busted for recruiting.
Yeah,
right. But this is my problem though. So hear me out with this one. Me, I'm old school, right? I'm the guy who's gonna, when I was out there on the field, I was using my face as a weapon, right?
You still can. It's a little different, but anyway.
Yeah, I still can.
Oh, that was a little late getting there, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, that shows that I probably have CTE, and we'll roll with it, right? But the thing is, right, I really don't think so. You're there for that education. Free ride. Get the education, right? You play your sport, and opportunity. If you're not good enough to go to the league, well, you get the experience. You get the experience of college ball. And guess what? Go. Because my problem with the money is now you have this stupid trickle down, which, by the way, it'll end up in high school. Texas is prepping for it right now. Texas is prepping for, or UIL is prepping for the same deals happening at high school football. But then we have this problem. We talked about this every week, so I got to bring it up again. Crappy linemen, weak players, never hitting because they don't want to get nobody hurt. And you have what I'm going to say, the trickle up effect. That's how gravity works, right? Is now you have that same thing. And again, we go back to the players are not lasting as long as they used to because the money decides how they practice. So at some point you have to say, do we want the safety or the money?
Right. And, I'm sorry. When you're deciding between anything and money, we know who wins, right?
You get the money.
Right. Exactly.
As you said, it's all about the Benjamin.
And it's not only that, and a lot of things work out this way where you can have an institution or whatever, which is all about the money, and all the decisions they make are based on revenue. But when they come to you, who's the common man, and you're supposed to make your decisions based on your morals and values and such, when all their decisions are based on how much money it brings in. So there's an imbalance there. And that's really what I don't like about certain systems is that they're the only ones allowed to go after the money. But you, even though you may be their partner or something, you're supposed to go to your sense of decency and morality and all those other things and not worry about the money, even though that's 98% of what they do.
Right.
That's my issue with that is it's there's an imbalance there.
Well, that's the whole woke thing, right? They were doing that stuff not because they were, morally felt
Right.
bad. They were doing that because that was a way to expand money, right? Expand capital. That was the way they did it. And they're still trying to do that because they've realized that, hey, it's still kind of working. And so you're right? As Benjamin's running, but us who are the poor folk, and I'm going to say, we are the ones that need to be morally, upstanding and feel bad to give them money. We should feel so bad.
You need to stay broke for the greater good while they just try to make as much money as they can.
Yeah, we should feel so bad that we should just hand them our wallets and our houses and everything that we own. They should have it because we feel bad that, I don't know, right? And then we should feel bad that they don't have enough money. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
We crack the code, man. We crack the code. And, like I said, opportunity, and it's about communication. We crack the code. So, let's look at when you talked about line play. Okay, you're one of the few who truly understands that. I'll admit, I watch a lot of football, but line play, looking at the O-line and how they play, I mean, other than the overt thing, someone gives up, they give up 8 sacks in a game or something, and you have somebody just busting up the middle. I get that. But I just get tired of the whole thing of line play. It's used as this kind of a buzzword for when you have really bad quarterbacks. And everyone says, oh, it's the O-line. Oh, it's the O-line. They said that about Tua, who's playing for the Dolphins. Well, the O-line is bad. Okay, I'm going to give you something here. Chicago Bears, they went from 5-12 to 11-6 this year. The Jacksonville Jaguars, 4-13 last year, 13-4 this year. So what happened? Did the O-line just suddenly get better? What happened? They have 5 new guys up there? And they talked about Trevor Lawrence last year, and they said, we need to protect him. The O-line has to do this. They got to do this, and they're not protecting him. So all of a sudden, they just figured out blocking schemes just overnight.
So hear me out, right? I was actually line. I know line play so well, like back of my hand. Been to thousands, not thousands. I'm not gonna say thousands, but I've been a few dozen lineman camp because that's all you can fit into one season, right? I think though people that say that it's the line play and that's the first thing they go to, right, are always people who favor the skilled players, right? Or they always say skilled players. To me, the linemen are skilled players, right? Those are the people who are live, breathe, eat, and sleep skilled football players, right? They got I'm a quarterback. I want to play quarterback, right? Truth is that the only thing they played quarterback was opening a beer on their couch for a Sunday game, right?
Right.
And so they say when anything goes wrong, they want to blame the lineman, but you can break it down, right? You can have a really bad quarterback have 4 or 5 seconds of pass and still not do anything with it.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's the thing. So you can see that. Was Miami's line the problem? No, because you can watch seriously, you can watch Tua work through his progressions, and then when he's throwing an interception to an outside linebacker who's sitting in his zone by himself, right, and then get to the bench and not have that blank look on his face, that Tua look, right?
I know
it's like that's Tua's fault. Okay, Caleb Williams, Eberflus, that was it, right?
Yeah,
it was the organization. The problem with saying it was the line play with Eberflus' system is that you had no freaking idea because there was no organization on the field, right?
Right.
So for him, and I know people want to say, well, he was a Heisman, he did so well in college, but the problem is that you have pre-Heisman Caleb Williams and post-Heisman Caleb Williams, right? Pre-Heisman was the guy that we all want to see on the field. Post-Heisman was the guy that we got with Eberflus, Yeah. So again, was that the line? No. We got post-Heisman Caleb Williams on a system that was crappy because Eberflus had no idea what his first 10, 20, or 30 plays were, right? As a head coach, you should tell your players to go to the offensive coordinator. You should already know it because you're the guy that leads that, right? And that's why he got fired from the Cowboys, because you have all that skill on the field, and what do you do with it? Nothing. But then again, Jerry Jones is a terrible manager and GM and CEO and whatever, right? So he hired him because, well, it shows that bad owners and people that don't really know anything hire other people that don't really know anything.
Right.
Because then
they can't tell you they're wrong.
yeah, that's the and then when people do know something, you end up like Jimmy Johnson and
Exactly.
right. You got us at Super Bowl, now you're out. But that's the point. With him, it wasn't the line, right? So people don't break that down. They don't look at the footwork of the line. You could tell right away who's a good lineman, who's not, by just their first step, their first glide step, right? Or on a block, right? If they have a nice like reach block, and you see the footwork just kind of be smooth, no imperfections, no stuttering, just a fluid motion. Guess what? You can't say it's the line, but then again, who knows line play? Who knows it?
And you know what? This is one of those things that's almost like when it gets into politics where people just kind of parrot things that they heard from what they think is a reliable source. You got fans who don't know the difference between a guard and a tackle, but they can tell you whether or not line play was good or not in a game just because they heard it somewhere. And honestly, it's one of those things where it's hard to say that wasn't the issue. It's, it was the offensive line, and that's it. And what are you supposed to do? Go back and watch the entire game frame by frame and say, okay, I spent the last 4 hours rewatching that game that you talked about, and it's not the line play.
Yeah.
Especially after some of these pundits saying the same thing. They've got to get him more protection. It's like, no, he needs to learn to identify past his hot read and go to his other options. That's what needs to happen.
Right, but look at who the political or not the I'm sorry, I say political because that's the first half of the show. The sports pundits, right? Look at who's in the box. You have receivers and quarterbacks and guys that announce golf, which I don't know how you do that. It's impressive, right?
Like Brad Gordy doing NASCAR, but go on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And the only thing we got going, the only lineman that's been in the box that I've seen over, I want to say 20 years now, right, is the only three guys that I can say off the top of my head, and two of them aren't even linemen, they were tight ends, right? You had John Madden.
Yeah.
Okay. That was the tight end, the man who was kind of like a Kittle type player. And I'm not going to say like it, but I'm not going to make that comparison as, cut and dry. He was a lineman that could block well, and he could, okay, so not Kittle. He could do the line blocking stuff of Kittle, and then John Madden.
Well, he's a pass catcher. But yeah, Jason Witten, I think, did a little work in the,
Yeah, but okay, so going back to it, right? Then you had Olsen, right?
Greg Olsen, yeah.
From the Bears. And then you have Kelsey. Those are the oh no, I'm sorry, I forgot the what's his name from the Rams on Thursday.
Jackie Slater.
No, the guy from the Rams on Thursday. Is that his name? Bald guy, gray hair. Wears the sweatshirt and the
Andrew Whitworth?
Yeah, there you go.
No, but Olsen, because Jackie Slater also does a lot of stuff as well. He's from
You're right. I'm sorry. I forgot about him. You're right.
But they're good to the O-line. I like that. Rams, they keep their O-line in the loop out here as far as the Rams and their whole brotherhood. I like that.
But see where I'm going with that though? You got what, 4 or 5 linemen in the box?
Mm-hmm.
And then you got receivers and quarterbacks, and you Troy Aikman, who has no idea where he's at.
Well, Troy Aikman, no. I liked it the way he was on a game, the Dolphins, and he was beside himself because Tua was so bad. He ran out of ways to analyze it. It was just, I thought he was going to have a stroke mid-broadcast because Tua was just so horrible and Aikman could not stand it. It was sad to see. And here, he's just like, you just can't do that at this level. I don't know what he's looking at when he snaps the ball. Here's this. Why would he even throw it? Look, his player is not even in them. It was like one of those type of things. Like someone had to say, hey, let's go to commercial and calm Troy down.
Yeah.
It's bad. And I'm glad Tua's
having a CTE freak out right now.
Tua's going to be gone. Mike McDaniel was just canned today. I hope we get Jim Harbaugh. I want Jim Harbaugh in Miami. I do.
Yeah. But, okay, so I'm going to ask this question. You are a Fins fan, live, eat, breathe, sleep, die hard Fins fan. As long as I have known you, was the curse of Mike McDaniel because of Tua and keeping Tua and giving Tua that money and believing, because I've gotten into this idea that, you know, sometimes when I coach, that I think that there's players that are good, and after a while you gotta let them go, right? You
Yeah.
say, I have done as much as I can for you, but you are not listening.
Well,
Was
okay.
his problem that?
You could say that he was saddled with Tua because Tua was Chris Greer's boy, and Chris Greer was the one who drafted him instead of Justin Herbert, and he had the advice of Brian Flores to get Justin Herbert instead, and he wanted Tua. So was he playing Tua just because the deposed GM had told him to? I mean, we may never know. I think he babied Tua a lot along the way because they were saddled with him. But, you know, at the end of the day, I think there's the accountability. It has to trickle down. And McDaniel being if he's a strong coach, he should have been willing to just, you know, put it on the line and realize he can't work with this guy and do whatever he has to do. Because remember, let's get real about it when it comes to these coaches losing their jobs. Not like you and I losing our jobs. If you lose your job tomorrow, there'd be financial hardship in your home. Okay? If I lose my job, there's a problem. These guys lose their jobs, you know, they still got $10, $20 million in the bank. So it's really about pride. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Now there's the other option. Do you think, hear me out, do you think that they were waiting for Tua to decide one day that he was going to go ahead and leave to study cannabis for a while? Were they going to wait for that? They were saying, dear God, I hope we have a Ricky Williams situation right now.
No. In fact, I just wanted to tell you that when it comes to quarterbacks, or I'll say football players in general, using cannabis because they have some problems as far as, you know, with the headaches and things from concussions, I don't agree with them using it while they're playing. After your career's over, that's fine. But what the last thing that you need is, as far as I see it, is if you have your brain is getting injured, to be using something that masks that. Because if you do permanent injury to your brain, that's it. That's going to affect you for the rest of your life. So I'm not in favor of players using cannabis to mask the effects of head trauma within the game. That's me. I don't think they should do that. It has nothing to do with whether or not I think cannabis should be legal or not. I'm saying in this particular situation, when players have issues that are brought on by head trauma, I don't think they should use cannabis to mask those symptoms. They shouldn't, because it'll cause long-term issues.
Yeah, well, where do you stop with that, right? You might as well just go straight to the opium plant and go ahead
and get yourself a cup to drool into, you know?
Yeah, get yourself.
That's what you'd be doing.
Right. So where do you stand with breakout players that are going to be probably one of the best running backs in the league for a long time?
Well, you know what? We got to stay in Miami because, you know, Devon Achane, I think he's going to be a big deal. This was kind of his breakout year. And I like Quinn Ewers at quarterback. I do like the future for Miami because we got to remember that last game that they lost against New England, but Achane was out and also Jalen Waddle was out too. And you had Quinn Ewers making only his second start in the league. So I like what Quinn Ewers, I like the way that he can see the field and read it. I like him. Horns up.
Horns up, brother.
Horns up. There you go.
Right. Or if you're the stupid Aggies fans, horns down, brother. But we're going to go ahead and hook him because I'm a huge Ewers fan. They'll probably get on me about being wrong about this. I don't know. This got
And the best part is they've got Ewers on his rookie deal, only $1 million a year for the next 3 years. So they'll be able to absorb that horrible cap hit from Tua, whatever it happens to be. But they're in a position to move on. They fell backwards into their new quarterback, and now we can get a good coach in there, and we can develop him. That's why I like Harbaugh, because he works with that type of a quarterback. Remember, he's the guy who worked with Joe Flacco. And it was about Flacco and a strong run game and good defense. It was how he won that Super Bowl. And what have we got in Miami? We got a good run game. We got a Flacco, at least, type of a quarterback who can make the throws that he needs to make. And Miami surprisingly wound up, the defense kind of played well this year.
They had good aspects. I'm going to say that, right? They had things where if you look at kind of like if they reorganized and they, they gave a little more offensive weapons, right, to utilize.
Yeah.
And the defense has a little more. The defense did well. I'm going to say that they did
They
not
can't
do that
stay on
stat.
the field for 45 minutes a game. That's the problem.
Right, and that's where you saw a lot of this past weekend's play too, right? Is that the defenses were out there for so long that the games
Mhm.
could have gone, 6-1, half dozen to the other each time, right? If you look at the like the Steelers game, right? It's like that defense was out there. Dear God, that defense was out there the whole game. It's like, what? Old man Rodgers was old man Favre that night. But so it's like, yeah, you can't keep your defense
That
out
Steelers
there the
game.
whole time.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm gonna
We
come
should
back
do
to that. I'm gonna come
Getting
back.
into that, what we should do is go ahead and pick these games for this upcoming
Yeah,
weekend.
let me finish my
I'm
soap opera
confident.
here. Okay. Yeah, let me
Yeah.
finish my soap opera here. Okay. So
Okay.
you can't leave defense out, especially if you're Miami, where your
Right.
offense is going to get like 2 yards a game. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
And the defense knows no matter what they do, they're going back out. When Tua was the quarterback, they know that no matter what they do, they're going to be back out on the field in a minute and a half.
right.
He's going
So
to
they
go
get
out. He's going to go 3 and out, and that's it. You barely get a rest. Even though you made an interception, did whatever, you can't catch a break.
right,
You
and that's
get
the
to
thing,
drink
right? You
that
can't.
much Gatorade, and then it's back out on the
Yeah,
field.
you don't even get time to take off your helmet, right? You might as well just kind of tilt it up a little bit to drink
Right.
that Gatorade, then
Yeah.
put it back down.
Even
Anyway, so let's
Sasquatch knows that, man.
so let's move on. All right. You're asking for Harbaugh, right?
I am.
I say Harbaugh. I don't know why. It's definitely probably not how you say that, and I don't care. Maybe one day when I get to interview him, I'll care at that point, right?
I interviewed his brother.
Oh, did you really?
I did. Jim Harbaugh.
Good for you.
Good guy. Odd fellow. Good guy. That's
Yeah.
my takeaway from him.
Love his glasses, right? The glasses, like, really,
Mhm.
Anyway, do you think he was sitting there that night going, damn, I wish we had looked past all those happy endings to keep Tucker here tonight?
Not giving you that, man.
Not giving, come on now.
I'm not giving you that. No.
Come on.
Low hanging fruit.
Without, come on.
Borderline dad joke. I can't let you have it, man.
You gotta let me have it. Come on. I texted it to you just for this purpose. You should have known that this one was gonna show up on this screen today.
Oh.
Come on.
All I know is
That was a
chip
chip shot. That was a chip shot for Tucker.
I know.
It was a chip shot.
But that was for anybody. Honestly. Any
But
NFL kicker should have made that field goal.
But for Tucker, he could have been 6-7 beers deep and still got that one.
Yeah, true that. But you know what? Tucker did have a lot of problems last season. And I mean on the field.
Hey, now you're playing out my joke right there, huh?
Yeah.
He did have some problems, you're right. But who would have thought, right? You have Bosworth, who misses his second field goal, since 2023?
Mhm.
Right? Then you have everybody on the sidelines gearing up. You even saw Lamar. He's over there trying to celebrate while that kid was midair. That goes, and so hear me out, right? Bosworth doinks it. Loop kicks it to the other side of the stadium, right? Which one are you more mad about? The doink or the fact that he missed the field goal post by at least 10 yards?
Well, you know what? When you look at how that game ended, there's only one thing to be mad at. There's only one. Because all sports, as we know, it's all this whole thing of you get just so many chances because you get a chance to execute and you may miss it. You get a chance, but there's always a chance for redemption. And then it comes down to the very end and you have that one final shot at redemption. If he makes that field goal, then it erases all the wrongs and cleanses all the sins that Baltimore may have made during that game. But instead, he misses it, and suddenly all the sins of Pittsburgh are washed away. That's the way it goes. It's brutal, but that's why you have to be a clutch player, because clutch is those very moments that you get. Just no matter what happened before, you can now just erase that and make things good for yourself and your team. And I'm sure that Bosworth was he was the last one.
Yeah, well, it definitely.
I'm sorry, not Bosworth. I was thinking about the Boss,
Yeah, well, Aaron Rodgers was lucky because once more he got away with one. Right, he got away with one. He was thinking, man, this is it. I'm a little bit sad. You see his sad Aaron Rodgers face.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, oh my gosh, right? It was like kind of that.
Well, we'll see what happens this week because, they got the prime time, the Monday night game at 5 o'clock is going to be in Pittsburgh when the Houston Texans come to town, which I think that's Texans are our favorite in that game. But, look, we can go ahead and pick them in order, though.
Yeah, I pulled the bracket up. I don't have a pen, so I'm going to have to go back and watch this.
I got them right here, man. I got them right here. So,
all right.
We already picked the Rams and Carolina. That's the first game.
Hold on. So we're starting on the NFC side. All right. So you got Rams and
Carolina. That's 1:30 Pacific time on Saturday. Yeah. First game of the weekend is the Rams at Carolina.
I am going to go with the Rams on this one. I think that Stafford is still in his prime, which is weird to say, or at least the tail end of it, right? So he's still got it. I think Puka Nacua is rocking and rolling right now. I think that all they need to do is have their defense show up for the day. Yeah. Which is, it's Bryce Young, doesn't have the experience, right? This is his first real season where he's doing really well. So it's kind of you're not settled down currently. It's the same thing when you put a full on blitz on Caleb Williams, he doesn't settle down. So I think that if they keep that in mind and the fact that they only have one receiver that is kind of their go-to guy. So if you force McMillan kind of to be ran out of the play, somewhere else, and you force them to go their second look or third look, you're right. I think the Rams will have that one. And I'm not gonna say soundly, right? But I am gonna say they're gonna. It could be a sound victory.
It could get ugly. That's what I'm saying. It could.
It could. Yeah, you're right. But I'm gonna keep it a little bit closer. I'm gonna err on the side of caution.
Okay.
Because it's how much is that young quarterback going to bring for his first trip to the playoffs?
I get you. Yeah.
All right,
and he is the unknown quantity, but we're both going Rams on there. And then I like the night game, though, in Chile Soldier Field.
Yeah.
Your Green Bay Packers against the Chicago Bears. This is going back. This is Bart Starr and Sid Luckman.
Yeah, absolutely. Bart Starr, man. I love Bart. It was fun to see him at least be carted onto the field when I was growing up. And I love actually watching some film of him. I go back often. Not him as a coach, terrible coach. Great football player.
But the ultimate field general. Yep, I get you.
He was really the first guy to at least for the Packers to start becoming a gunslinging type offense, right? To start throwing it. So I give him props for that.
He didn't have a big arm though. But he was swinging a bit, but he didn't have a big arm.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't
Johnny U.
Yeah, he wasn't Brett Favre, is what I was gonna say.
I go Johnny U, you go Brett Favre. Okay, we can tell.
Well, we're talking about the Packers. Why not? Anyway, so we got him not once, not twice. I don't know why I'm over here thinking that the screen can see my hands all the way. Not once, not twice. We got him 3 times. 3 times. And now, God, I'm going to go with the Packers and hear me out that I think that if they keep the pressure on Caleb Williams and throw some blitzes in there, but then again, how is Love going to show up? Is Van Ness going to be able to fill the shoes of Michael Parsons?
Is Love playing?
As far as I know, he's out. He's playing right now.
Okay. All right.
I don't want him to. I'd prefer Malik Willis. I think it was a breath of fresh air to see a good quarterback from a good program play and get the ball, not throw the ball up there, on that big alley-oop, and actually kind of put the ball where it needed to be with the right arc. Yeah. So Jordan Love's my question. Van Ness is my question as well, right? And then Trevon Diggs, we saw him with the Cowboys, who was not really doing as well as he should be doing.
Right.
So I have question marks, but I, as a diehard Packer fan for 33 years of my life, guess what? I'm rolling with them. The Bears are going to put a good game. This one will go into overtime. It'll be an overtime game. Absolutely.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, it'll be another overtime game, and as long as we don't let Dobbs be on the special hand, the quick hands team, right? As long as we don't let him out there, who should have just let the gosh dang ball roll out of the freaking field, right? When you're a half a yard away from the sideline, let it go. let it go. Just like in that movie Frozen, let it go.
Well, here's what I got to do. And by the way, of course, we get to the Eagles next, but I like what Caleb Williams is doing. And he shows definitely a lot of upside. And he took major steps this year. Like they talk about, though, he doesn't identify properly when he's got guys open, which he'll work on. But I think they're going to win this game. No Micah Parsons. That's the difference for this game. If Micah Parsons is healthy and in this game, I would be taking the Packers. But because there's no Micah Parsons, you won't be able to get those few plays. I think it's going to be Chicago at Soldier Field, and it's going to be frozen, cold, and your Packers are going home, and they're going home, and next year come back with a healthy Micah Parsons, and maybe it'll be different.
Yeah, okay. That's fair enough. Right. I'm with you on that one. I think if I could give a most improved player for the league, right, Caleb Williams would be the guy. He has surprised me in the steps he took forward. Well, that's for sure. So, yeah, he can orchestrate. But again, if they get pressure on him, he doesn't settle down when he gets flustered.
That's why if Micah Parsons was playing, I would be picking the Packers, but he's not.
But Quay Walker can have that same intensity if he can get through the line. Sometimes he just sits back and does nothing too, right? So I know. Here's my deal.
Too big a piece to be missing. That's all. But as far as I see it,
I'm conflicted. Love the Packers. I will vote for the Packers. They're the team I'm going with. But am I a little skeptical of that pick? Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. I can be that though. Yeah, you're right. So next, here's the game. And I tell you what, I don't know who to vote for on this one because I hate the Eagles and I can't find myself voting for Frisco. I think that the Eagles are going to take this one. I think that right now Frisco is injured without Bosa there. With Purdy, again, I told you this. What?
Without Fred Warner also.
Warner,
Or it's just kind of toast.
Yeah, Purdy is not he's not a consistent quarterback. He's a two-play.
Well, I think you're not giving the Seahawks enough credit for that defense. The Seahawks
but that's the thing, though. The Seahawks put the pressure on him, right? I think the Eagles are going to do the same thing. I really do. I think the Eagles are going to put the pressure on him, and I don't think he's never been able to settle down when pressure comes his way, right? And then so he forces the dump-off route to McCaffrey. And McCaffrey is, man, I don't know. There's a point when you should kind of look at yourself and say, am I done? You know what I mean?
Well, it's like when guys start scheming for you, that's a whole different thing. And also, you got to have the personnel to do it. So the Seahawks, when they beat them in the last game, it was the Seahawks had the personnel to do it. Now with all these things I'm bringing up, I'm still going to take the Eagles. They're 5.5-point favorites. They're playing at home. I think they're going to win this game, and this is also why Nick Sirianni is easy to criticize, and people say he should have played as starters. That way they could have gotten the 2 instead of the 3 and guaranteed themselves home games. But I think the way they see it is the Eagles, a healthy Eagles team can beat anyone in front of them. And they also were not going to win the number 1 seed. That was going to Seattle no matter what. I don't think the Eagles are afraid of the Niners. I don't think they're afraid of playing the Chicago. If Chicago advances, they may ultimately have to play Chicago at Soldier Field, but it doesn't matter. The field's 100 yards. The weather is crappy, just like it is in Philly. Yeah. So I hate to back Sirianni because he's kind of weird and it's easy.
I don't like. See.
Yeah. I know, but I'm gonna side with him, and I think the Eagles come through.
I'm rolling with the Eagles too. I think that Jalen Hurd, again, he's in his prime. He's got a lot to give the team still. Very rarely does he make like a real mistake, where it's just kind of like him messing up. So he's and I'm gonna say rarely.
Yeah. Hey, they are the defending Super Bowl champs. So let's go ahead and give credit where it's due, right?
That's what I'm saying, right? Rarely will you see him like mess up to where it's like a blatant like him mistake, right? And not just like a very slight misread. And you start to see a little bit of fumble time here this past season, but that's all right. I think he's still got it. And again, I would never root for the 49ers, so I'll go with the Eagles on that one. Okay.
All right, that is the second game on Sunday. That's 1:30 Pacific time, but we skipped over the first game, which is, this is interesting for me. You know, the Bills in Jacksonville, that 10 o'clock game on Sunday morning.
That one,
yeah.
That one, yeah. So I had to tell you, I had a buddy that was at that game, right? And he was at that last game. He was hoping for that snow at their stadium for the last one. They'll be there. Ended up raining, so he was not too happy about that. But when he left, he said, "Well, they'll find a way to blow it." And so I'm going to say this. This might come as a shock, but I think that they will find a way to blow this game.
So Jacksonville, 1.5 favorite, playing at home. It's supposed to be perfect weather there in Florida, as it is most of the time, unless a hurricane comes through. So
or you're at the Bucks.
See, Jacksonville, this is really their first year. I'm always wondering about these teams. It's their first year being really, really good, which what Jacksonville win like the last 8 games in a row or something like that. So they have a couple of things. One, there's the playoff pressure. Now there's the expectations. Also, at a certain point, you're working against the law of averages too.
Yeah, but
you have to lose one at some point. And Josh Allen, he's got experience, and if it's close, is this one of those things where Josh Allen?
What does he have experience at?
Pull this out?
What does he have experience at? He blows it every single year he gets there.
Right, but not this early. Not this early. So this is going to be a game. I'll say this. I am picking Jacksonville, but if I had an upset alert game, it would be this game right here. Because Lawrence, even though, I remember that great comeback he had against the Chargers a few years ago in Florida. Yeah, that was great. So he definitely can play some good ball, and I like their coach. Liam Cohen is playing. He's got the boys motivated. I really like the way that he presents himself. But yeah, I'm taking Jacksonville. But you know what? Yeah.
You got to look at the Bills' history, brother. You got to look at them and say,
I get you.
Can the Bills shake?
They disappoint their fans later in the season, okay? Not this.
But listen,
no, it's got to be at least divisional round, when their fans really have hope. Like, we're gonna get there the first time since Jim Kelly.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, though, right? If you come out in a press conference and say, "Yeah, I should have played better. It was my fault," right? That's not a Super Bowl quarterback. I get it. He's great. Josh Allen's great. And like I said, man, he could run up to that line. He could do that whole shovel pass somewhere else, throw off the linebackers, or at least freeze them, right, to get a free 5 yards there. Or he can run up, get a touchdown, or he can pass the ball. Got it, right? I believe it. 100%. I believe he's got the skill to take the team there and orchestrate the offense in a way that really no defense could stop. Right, because then it's like you either get, you get the pass, you get the shovel, or you get Josh Allen just going to truck you, run over you. Right.
Jacksonville's got good defense, though.
That's what I'm saying.
Jacksonville shut that down.
But
still, Jacksonville.
Right, but for me to see Lawrence and Jacoby Myers, I think that was a great pickup that they had. I think the Raiders were not utilizing Jacoby Myers as he should have been. Right, so
the Raiders don't utilize anything as they should, do they?
No.
What do they utilize other than I won't make a this joke.
Hear me out. Pete Carroll's big idea was to bring Geno Smith with him, and we knew how that was going to turn out, right?
Clock struck midnight on that, brother. That's all I can say.
Yeah,
we knew how bad Geno Smith was.
Clock struck midnight on Geno Smith like 10 years ago. Come on now. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to say that if Lawrence and Jacoby Myers could be connecting as they should and as they have been doing, yeah, absolutely. You got it.
All righty. So we're going to agree there with Jacksonville, and then we move on. The night game. Patriots.
This one to me is interesting. This one, because so many things could happen here, right? Being from the area near LA. I'm not gonna say I'm from LA because I don't want to be associated with LA, right?
Wait a minute, man.
I'm
LA, homie.
Yeah.
I was born in LA, right near MacArthur Park. We got Queen of Angels Hospital.
Yeah, I get
building now, but
no, I get that. But me, I'm
yeah, you're from the OC. Yeah, you Mickey
Mouse. Orange County, right? Huntington
see you in
Beach.
the house.
Yeah,
I get you.
Huntington Beach, right? You know, I don't want to say I'm from like LA, I'm near LA, but I'm gonna go with the Chargers. But because
In New England at
so,
night when it's going to be chilly, and
yeah,
Justin Herbert,
what is
his
the ghost?
hand is going to be like.
What is the ghost of Aaron
Ooh,
Hernandez going to show up to that game, or what?
What's that?
Right? Is the ghost of Aaron Hernandez going to show up to that game? I think that.
I remember his post-touchdown celebration. We'd be digging, and I had no idea that he was like miming, trying to mimic digging up and burying a body
for the bodies. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he was actually burying a body.
Yeah,
he was digging a grave out there in the woods, and we never knew it.
Yeah. That's man. But anyway, so here's what could go. Here's how this game could go. Right, you got Herbert. Herbert gets on a good run. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The Chargers defense has been good. They have been on it, right? And again, it's a situation of how long could the defense be out on the field? Can they be out on the field for the entire game? No. We experienced that, right? Steelers, 49ers, right? 49ers were out there the entire game. And even every time they got some momentum going, Brock Purdy got out there, sucked, right? Same thing. Aaron Rodgers got out there and sucked. Herbert can do that. He can get out there and suck, and then the Chargers defense that plays fairly well have to carry the load all game long. Now, if Herbert decides to play, and we have like Keenan Allen show up, right, ready to go, because if you get all those those records, right, and you beat like Antonio Gates, okay, if you get that, you need to show up for this game. If he shows up, if the offensive line keeps doing what they're doing, then that's going to be a problem, right? Because when you have the most sacked quarterback, you've got an issue, right? So you got to get the line to do, and this is where I talk about bad line play, right? They don't have good coaching. I'm sorry to say that, but if you have a quarterback be sacked the most times, both in Charger history and I think for the season, right? For the season in the NFL, you need to figure that out. So I think if they figure out the line, or there's some type of new routes that they throw out there for, again, a quick pass, a dump off route, something to move that ball. Herbert and a rhythm could do really well. But again, you have the line as the factor. That's the one thing. They cannot seem to get their footwork right. They have hiccups when they take that glide step. Double teams go wrong because they don't communicate. We talk about communicating. That's the number one thing. Now, Patriots. Okay. If we go with the Patriots, you have the classic Drake May rollout. He will always roll out. You'll have that tight end run a 5 to 10 yard out route. And that'll be easy money. But for the Chargers defense, who's been playing really well, and if they aren't on the field the entire time, I don't think that they could have that. I think that's a weapon that they will take away easily. And again, is Stephon Diggs playing?
Yeah, maybe.
So you don't have.
Vrabel is coaching though.
Yeah, but you need to have somebody to run. So on that 5 yard, 10 yard out route, you got to have somebody over the top to occupy, safeties and cornerbacks that are going to that deep zone. So that's the only way that Drake May can keep that same system. Roll out left, roll out right. Their running backs are not necessarily the best. Some people can argue with me that, but they haven't been like breakout players. So which one do you go? They're both fairly one dimensional.
Well, the Chargers, and here's why I'm picking New England here, but the reason why is we got to look at the Chargers. When you look at the injuries to Justin Herbert and all the sacks, all these type of things, when things really changed was when Najee Harris went down with the injury. I forget if it was an Achilles or an ACL that Najee Harris got injured early in the season. He was supposed to be their featured back. I don't think the Chargers truly recover from that. And they've had because I like Harbaugh's a good coach. He was a good coach. He figured things out, got them an offense that'll work. I think that's why they made it to the playoffs. But here's where it's going to. You got Vrabel, who's a former linebacker. He knows how to scheme for these things. You know,
He's
you got a quarterback
we got to give him
who's
credit.
got to be their best running back. Also, I don't think they have enough to go in there and beat New England in Foxborough, where it's going to be probably a mite chilly. We'll just call it a mite chilly. Yeah. So I got New England here because I just think there's too many injuries on the side of the Chargers, and the main thing is not having Najee Harris in the backfield. He's in the backfield, and probably, I'd probably be going with them. They probably wouldn't even be playing in this particular game, in this particular place, because the record would have been better.
Yeah.
But they've been trying kind of getting through with Herbert being their best running back, and I don't think that can carry them through. So I got New England winning this game.
Okay, but I just want you to put that on record that the guy from LA is not voting for the LA Chargers. Okay, can you put that on record? Say
I do. Yes. Yes.
Okay, say I, Charles, am not voting for the LA team.
And you know what? That's the San Diego Chargers. It just
LA
Chargers does not work. That's the San Diego Chargers.
They will always be San Diego. I
exactly.
Qualcomm Stadium.
Kellen Winslow. Yes, those are the San Diego Chargers. That's what they are.
I consider them, and to be honest, I hardly even remember like the new Chargers. Like my mind always goes back to that Phillip Rivers game that I was at with Junior Seau and LT. And now you mention LT, and everyone's like, "Who's LT?" And it's like, how do you not know who LaDainian Thompson is? Thomason, right? How do you not know?
Yeah.
How do you not know?
That's this generation. That's this generation. Don't get me started on.
I had that same helmet. I had the Bulldog helmet, the DNA shoot, same thing. It's not DNA. Yeah, DNA shoot. That's exactly it. So
all you had to do was run out of bounds to avoid contact, and you were LT, right? Okay.
Well, I never was a running back, so I just want you to know
that. Got you. Let's get to that Monday night game, man.
I was the Monday night. Here we go. This is it, and I tell you what, I am going to stick with
Texans are a dome team. Remember, they're used to ideal conditions, and the high in Pittsburgh is supposed to be, I think, 33 degrees, and this is a night game, so it's going to be in the 20s.
I'm going to stick with Rodgers. I got to.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
I got to stick with Rodgers. I know that Packers fans all across the world right now, including Paul McCartney, are probably saying, right, I don't like Aaron Rodgers, right? He needs to go on to one of those ayahuasca retreats. But I got to say, he has impressed me this season. He has. He has shown that there is some Aaron Rodgers left to give at like 400 years old.
There is some Aaron Rodgers left to give.
Yeah.
Right. That's a beautiful quote.
There is.
May I quote you?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, quote me.
All right.
There is some Aaron Rodgers left to give. Seriously. I think that if they bring it 100% and they do what they do, Aaron Rodgers can orchestrate. His biggest problem, by the way, is that he just hasn't had the people, right? The line gives him time, but he just hasn't had the people to. And by God, don't run that stupid play where you sweep to the right and shovel it to the left thinking you're going to get that touchdown. That was the dumbest play call I have ever seen. Everybody in the stadium could have looked at that and said, there are too many people on that side of the field to make that work, right? They should have just ran up the field. They should have given it to, Williams and Warren. I'm sorry, Warren, and ran up the field. You know what I mean?
This is a tough game for me. Defense wins championships. I always say, that was Bill Parcells who said that. He made that famous. But
yeah, it worked out.
Texans have the best defense in the league.
Real quick, it worked out for Parcells in '96, right?
That was when the Packers won, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Well, if you had Drew Bledsoe, who I told everybody before the game, I said he's guaranteed to throw 4 interceptions in the game.
Well, when you have Drew Bledsoe looking at Reggie,
and a 2 and a 3 and a 4.
Yeah. Well, because if you're looking at Reggie White, wouldn't you want to throw the ball to somebody else and run off the field?
Well, the fact that he even got that team there is the amazing part about it. And, you're looking at 96. What about those Giants teams, though? The only team that ever figured out how to really stop the 49ers juggernaut, and they got to Joe Montana. Yeah, they got to him.
listen, don't take this one from me. It's 96. We're not talking about 2009. Okay. We're talking about 96. Come on now. We're not talking about 2009. We're talking about 96.
Yeah.
2009 was a tragedy. It was Brett Favre who should have gone to the Super Bowl, but blew the game late in the fourth quarter. And that was where you looked at it and said, "Is Brett Favre still Brett Favre?" Right. So don't bring up the Giants. Okay. We're talking about 96. Packers won. Reggie White got that Super Bowl. And we're good to go. We got Favre, we got Sterling Sharp. We got it. Okay.
Well, you know what? I gotta go again, upset alert.
Yeah.
But I'm going with the Texans here, and I think their defense is going to pull through here, because I think CJ may struggle out there in the cold with the pressure and everything. But I like the Texans, even though and this kind of pains me because even though I'm a Dolphins fan, as evidenced by everything there in the background, but the Steelers are my number 2 team because all my family's from there, and when I was really getting my NFL football teeth, I was cutting my teeth in the 70s. You had the Dolphins who were great, the Steelers who were coming along, and the Dolphins beat them in the AFC Championship game to complete the undefeated season, which they would go ahead and beat the Redskins in that Super Bowl. But I've always loved the Steelers. That was the greatest defense I ever saw. Yeah. But I think the Texans are going to get this one. It's going to be an ugly game. I think it'll be ugly. I don't think Rodgers is going to be able to do a whole lot because that Texans defense is not going to give him anything. They're not. He's going to have to fight and scrap for every yard. And it's going to be I love DeMeco Ryans as a coach. I like Mike Tomlin. So this is going to be a battlefield position. This is going to be old school football.
Yeah.
So if you're a betting man, bet the under.
Well, yeah, okay, but I'm not going to go to Houston because this is me trying to find a Houston fan out here where I live in Texas, right?
Come on,
where to be found. Where's Houston at?
Yeah,
well,
they're all Cowboys fans, right?
Well, yeah, everybody's somehow an America's football team fan. I don't get it.
Yeah,
I don't get it. That is the worst marketing or PR stunt in the world. And now
that was originally offered to the Steelers because that wasn't an NFL marketing scheme. Was that whole America's team thing? But Steelers didn't want it because of their whole blue collar image, so they put it on the Cowboys.
Yeah,
and that was an NFL marketing scheme.
And now you have to hear that right after they say, and you can quote me on this one too. This year is our year.
You look just like Jerry when you say that, man. You look just like, and you sound just like Jerry.
This year is our year. And then they say, we're America's football team. I hope you like that. We're going to win. And you look at Dak Prescott and you go, no, you're not. Okay. Nope, sorry. Okay, what'd you get? Kenny Clark, the guy that's at his tail end of his career? Sorry. Right, so they are Cowboys fans out here, and it's unfortunate again, but it's just as unfortunate when you see a Houston Texan fan. So I don't think that CJ Stroud has it in him. I think that he's going to start to break out here in playoffs. He really is. Promise.
He may.
Promise.
He may. That may happen. I just think that the Houston defense is going to be the difference in the game.
I agree because again, they have to. They have to, but how long can they stay on the field?
Well, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of 3-and-outs because they do have a good run game there, which they're going to have to rely on. So it's about controlling the ball, controlling the clock, which the Steelers are going to try to do too. I'm sure there's not going to be a whole lot of vertical, even though they got DK back. He's off that 2-game suspension that he got for trying to slap the crap out of a Detroit Lions fan, which every Detroit Lions fan deserves to be slapped.
Needs to be slapped, yeah.
Whatever. So
the only one you can't slap is Barry Sanders because you can't catch up with him.
Right, yeah. You mean you slap, but you just get air and throw your shoulder out of joint.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, right? It is a defensive game, and clock control is a big one, but that's where the experience happens, right? CJ Stroud's not going to have that. You can have good coaches, but who's out there on the field orchestrating that offense, right?
I got you.
Rodgers knows it. Rodgers knows that ultimately how he's going to win that game is clock control. He's going to hold that ball. I mean, look what happened last Sunday, right? He held that ball. That was a really good clock control game, and he picked the right, out there. No, run it again. Let's get a different play in there, right?
Yeah.
I don't think Stroud is that level, so I think that Stroud's going to have to either figure that out, or you're going to have their defense out there the whole game, and you're going to rely on the defense. So you're right; it will be a defensive game for Houston.
Yeah.
Again, though, I think that the experience matters at this one.
And by the way, if anybody wants to get a hold of me this weekend, your best chances are before 10 o'clock on Saturday morning, or wait till Monday. That's it. Oh my goodness. 2 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday, and then Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
It's great, man.
Yeah.
It's great. And I'm really looking forward to actually whoever the Seahawks play and the Broncos.
So tell your wife if she needs to yell at you for anything, make sure she does it tomorrow. Just get it out of her system on Friday, because Saturday and through the weekend, you're just shut down. Tell her just to bring you sandwiches and food and anything else that you need, your drinky drink or whatever. And, maybe a little break between games. You can tell her and the kids that you love them or whatever. But this weekend is football, man.
Can I tell you something, man? My wife is almost as a diehard football fan as I am.
Oh, yeah?
She is. When I'm on the couch watching football, she is right there yelling at the TV with me. Right. So she'll be watching football the same. Right. We'll have to figure out who's going to get up to get a snack.
Okay. All right.
That's the problem here. So
your kids aren't quite old enough to play waiter yet. Are they?
No, but I have taught them go Pack Go and go Kings Go.
Mm-hmm.
And then my oldest son surprised me earlier today by saying, "Cook 'em horns."
Yeah.
So we're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting there. So this is going to be a good run. I'm excited to see if our picks hold up. And again, anybody want to make a comment on our picks and tell us we're stupid? Go for it. Let's hear it.
Or just tell us we're stupid for no reason.
Yeah, just
go ahead and do that.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Let's hear your comments. Yeah. I already got one Trump derangement syndrome comment earlier. So.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Well,
I have a friend, just to tell you what, as far as that goes, not to go down too much of a rabbit hole, but he said that on the same thread, he has been called a libtard.
Yep.
And he's been called a MAGA whatever on the same thread about the same topic.
But that's talent.
Different people.
Yeah, that's talent.
And that's what happens when you just try to be objective about anything. People are just waiting to slap a label on you. And, just like I try to tell people, don't call people stupid, especially not like some of these politicians and everything. They're not stupid. Yeah. You don't get to that point being stupid.
Yeah.
They may be insensitive. They may be sociopathic. Maybe a lot of things, but they're not stupid. They're not. They are not.
But hear me out, though. When you have Tim Walz holding a press conference asking people to stop driving by his house to call him retarded, here's your sign, right?
Yeah, I get you. And by the way, in light of what happened in Minnesota, just remember, everybody, when there are armed officers around your vehicle saying, "Get out of the vehicle," it's not a good idea to hit the gas and try to run them over. It just isn't. I'm just saying, you know what? I don't care what the situation is. I'm not saying I agree with ICE or not. I'm just saying in a particular situation, any situation, no matter what the surrounding is or why you're there, when armed officers tell you, "Get out of the vehicle," you don't try to run them over. That's all I'm saying. That's it. I'm not saying I agree with ICE or not. I'm saying don't try to run them over. It will not end well for you. It won't. From this. That's all.
You don't panic and hit the gas? No? All right.
I don't think she panicked.
All right. Real quick, let's talk about this before we go ahead and shut it off. All right. What are we doing with the Kings? How are we looking like that?
Not, man. Hey, you know what? 2012, 2014. Banners hang forever.
I know. Yeah, I know. But can we make a change?
Which change?
Will they get rid of the GM? Will they get rid of the coach and start talking about players that are younger and better? Or maybe, hey, try to get some Matthew Tkachuk's in there and let's rock and roll. Let's get some real players. Come on now. Come on now.
You take a king's ransom to get Matthew Tkachuk away from the Panthers, man. Come on now. You know that.
Yeah. But shoot, man.
And look at the role Colorado is on now anyways. What is it?
Yeah, they did really well. I watched that game the other day. They did really well. That was impressive.
Yeah.
But they still have that, though. They play like that Stanley Cup team that they were. And then guess what? Then
you can play like that team, but do you have those players?
no,
That's the issue.
no,
You need to have the personnel. Oh my God, Miami just went up with what 18 seconds left in the
18
game. They
seconds
just scored a
left, yeah.
touchdown. They're up by 4 now. Well, 3 extra point pending.
Yeah, that one. See, this has been an impressive game. I've been impressed with this one.
And by the way, yeah, once again, and this is because I'm from out here. So I grew up, Southern USC right here, all that stuff, tailback U and everything. And all I have to say to Notre Dame fans is 2 things. One is 55-24. All the older Notre Dame fans know what I'm talking about. And this right here, right now. Miami belongs. You don't. The end. Just
So you get it done?
get over it.
Yeah.
This is why they're in there and you're not.
So who we taking next game? We taking Indiana or we taking Oregon?
Indiana.
So then the question is, right, will you still be saying that same thing when the U has to go up against Indiana?
Well, it doesn't matter because they will have made it that far. So you can't say that a team that makes it all the way to the championship game like this didn't belong, because they do belong.
That's true. That's
So,
true.
even if Indiana my goodness, that's a freight train, isn't it? Indiana. So Indiana may truck the Hurricanes, but we'll see, because we're gonna do another show next week before that championship game even happens, because that's on the 19th. So we got a show next week. We'll give them some airtime then.
Yep, absolutely. We'll talk about that. Anyway,
Jay Doggy, all my best to you and yours and everybody who watches. And remember, it is just sports. It's escapism. There are more important things in the world, but oh my goodness, do we love sports? And that's it. This is what brings everyone together. It's sports.
Yeah, sports are the way to go, man. It is bringing us together, especially now when the world's coming unglued. We got some good football on a weird season. You know what I mean? A weird season so far, and I think the ending is going to be phenomenal. While I made my picks, I do feel like some upsets are going to happen.
Yeah,
I really do. I strongly believe that we're going to have a twist show up here, because look at the season. The season's been full of twists, right? Mahomes injured, Chiefs out, right? Travis Kelce went and joined the Eras Tour or whatever.
Both the Chiefs, the Ravens out, Buffalo on shaky ground.
Yeah, but then you got Browns coach fired, right? Pete Carroll fired, John Harbaugh fired, Mike McDaniels fired. And I think the Raiders have got rid of their GM. Goodness. Wild.
I'll be at the Raider Stadium next year. The Dolphins are playing there. I'm going to go there. I hear it's a great stadium, and I'm going to go watch the Dolphins in Las Vegas next year. And so anyone who wants to come out the stadium, hang out, I'll buy the first person a beer. I'm not going to say a beer for everybody, because what are they, $25 a piece or something?
Yeah, I tell you what, we might bid for a press pass out there and hang out. Tell you what, that we could do that. We could do that. Get out there. That's gonna be, man. We could have a gathering, a gathering of this show. We could talk about it. Maybe we might have some people show up to call us stupid in person. That'd be impressive, right?
Yeah.
They bought a ticket, got out there, subscribed to us just so that they could say, "You guys are stupid."
And remember, like the other side's beanie says, it says, inspire change. That's the whole thing. And the only way you're going to inspire anyone is through communication.
Yep.
It's like, don't call me stupid. Tell me why I'm stupid.
Yeah, I'm open to that.
Okay, you're stupid. Okay, get into the minutia of why I am stupid, and I'll
an explanation.
Yeah.
I hope. Man,
your favorite team. There's 2 teams playing. I have to pick one.
Yeah.
If your team happened to be the other one, it's not anything personal. It's just a professional pick. This is
Yeah.
what I think.
Like I work across the hallway from a Bears fan, and I yell at him all day long. I do. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. So yeah, man, I encourage people to comment. I really do. I want to see those comments, and man, I will throw up the best comment. You give us the best comment, we
And
will.
by the way,
throw-
who is Wifey's team? I know your team is the Packers. Who is Wifey's team?
She is a Packers fan.
Is she?
Oh yeah,
Hey, is it?
for real, Packers fan.
And we used to see her wearing like red and gold or something, you know.
No, she is not a Niners fan. She's a
Okay.
Packers fan. I have. You've seen her. She
Oh my
wore.
God, you married a Bears fan, didn't you?
No, you didn't see her when we were in Cyprus. She would always wear that Brett Favre jersey, especially when they played the 49ers. We had to go over to her dad's house.
Yeah, no, I get you. I
Yeah.
get you. All right, man. Hey, good luck on Saturday night there, man. But like I said, I'm taking Chicago because you don't have Michael Parsons.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. All right, here we go. We appreciate you guys. This is the Dissenting Goyim Show, Sports Edition, Inspired Change, Opportunity, Sports, man. As I said in one of my videos, woke is a joke. Sports is the opportunity. Sports is the way we go for that discourse, that love of each other, of humanity. That's kind of what puts us all on equal footing. That is where equality really happens. Okay. And again, join us next week. We will see if our picks hold up. Please comment. We will enjoy those comments. Again, I'll throw up the best comment. If you give us the best comment, let's hear it. Okay, let's hear it. We'll pick them out. We'll put them on. We may have some changes as far as where we go with this show, and if we do live or not. That's the change. We will see. So I got to talk to Charles here in a second. So
This is the first I'm hearing about it, people. I'm being blindsided.
Yeah. I appreciate y'all. Thanks for tuning in. I love the views that we're seeing and show up. It's kind of awesome. Also, if you want to find us, we are now on YouTube. I will post some stuff on Substack as far as videos go, and I just joined Rumble, so we'll get on Rumble, and not Rubble like the Paw Patrol, Rumble. And I'm thinking about X, so we'll see where we go with that one. But right now, those are the 3 platforms that you will find us on. Please go join, like, subscribe. We will be super grateful for that. We appreciate y'all, and good night.